Well, recapping quickly from the last little video we made about this motor car, it's an early Super Snipe, probably the earliest one still in existence, but it may not be. But it's a 38, 39 model year car, and it's still got its original engine, which is unusual because a lot of these were changed very, very early in the life of the car. They only made these engines for about 8 or 9 months because they knew they'd got a problem. They were very, very prone to cracking, and this one's no different. It has cracked. It's been cracked for a long time. I know the car well, for probably 15 years, and we're finally getting the chance to do what should have been done a long time ago and put a post-1939 engine in it. Lifted the bonnet off, which is always a bit of a ticklish operation. They're made in 4 pieces and they're hinged in 3 places, and they're a bit like lifting a I don't know, an octopus or something. It's a 3-person lift to do it carefully and not hurt the paint and things. So now I can get to taking it to bits. Right, so we've got a few bits of it disconnected. We've got the dynamo disconnected, we've got the coil disconnected, the fuel is disconnected, and we've drained the water out. It hasn't got a thermostat in it, which probably wasn't helping its overheating problems, but hey, it's definitely got fundamental problems anyway. So slowly we're just disconnecting all the bits and pieces, the temperature sender and everything else. Now this engine is completely different from the one that we're going to put back in, so we've got to remove all of this. On these early engines, the dynamo and the distributor and the water pump is all down the side of the engine and gear driven off the crankshaft. And on the later engine, the starter is down here where the water pump should be on this one, and the whole thing's sort of round the other way, and we'll need to put a later radiator in because the bottom hose outlet's in a different place. So lots of work to do, but I think we can probably get this done over the next week with a bit of luck. Well, I've got the front wing off. This one came off very easily. It wasn't bolted to the radiator grille, and actually the other one wasn't. The other side, it does take above average skill and determination to really bolt the front end of one of these together properly and get all the bolts in. And I should think 50% of the cars that I pull to pieces are missing some, and some of them like this, where they've actually got no bolts holding the front wings onto the actual grille. No danger of the wings going anywhere. They're bolted on quite firmly to the radiator frame, but they must sort of squeak and move about a bit. Anyway, I can't get this wing off at the moment because it's got a captive nut turning in the bulkhead, and at the moment I'm taking the coward's way out and working around it because I really don't want to be getting an angle grinder out and cutting bolt heads off on a car like this, and that is sadly the only way around that one. So we'll have to work around that and see if we can do the engine change with the wing in situ. Well, there we are, we're winning. Radiator's off. That was a bit of a struggle because of somebody's previous codge up. It should have a particular type of captive nut in the bottom of the radiator frame, and it didn't. It had bolts that were spinning round and I couldn't guess at the heads. Anyway, they're out, and now we can get the engine out and we can actually get to what we're doing. I'm going to have to get the carpets out, get the floor out, move the seats back, all of that sort of stuff. That might be a clean trousers sort of job. So I might go and get changed and tidy myself up a bit, because this one's got a nice interior and I don't want to drub that up. Not in the sort of overalls that I use for crawling underneath things. But anyway, yeah, it's all positive. Hooray. Well, this little T-shaped engine mount has to come out of the way before the pulley can come past it, and it's about the most awkward thing on the planet to get to.
You might have to come over your head to get a better view of the T. Ah, yes.
Yeah, there are 4 little 1/4 Whitworth bolts in there, which you can't get hold of or do anything with. Ah, there's one, look, we've got another one out. So we've got 3 of the 4 out so far. And it's just one of those jobs that's always a fiddle. And it's the last job that you do before you lift one of these engines out. And also pretty much the first job you have to do, put it back once you put the other engine in. And of course, when you're putting the other engine in, the new one in, you've got to get the threads started and you've got to try and fit your hand in there and the engine's on a crane and it's just all a bit dodgy really. Because if the hydraulics on the crane went, your hands would be in the way, and so that always concentrates your mind a bit. But if I can get this fella out of the way, this engine's ready to lift. So I can pull it out, and then it will be time for tea, I think, or something. I might be able to get my hand in there now and turn that by hand, maybe. It might be just loose enough that it will twizzle around without the socket wrench. And no, it won't. Of course it won't. It's gone tight. And this is about the only socket spanner that I've got that goes in. And it's a Brittle, and it's dated. I don't know, I haven't got my glasses on, but it's dated something like 1943. But it's quite an unusual type, but it is actually short enough that you can get it in there and it will work. The only problem being, it's a really coarse ratchet, so you can hear it's only clicking once.
For
every time I do this, so I'm only really turning it sort of one flat at a time, so it'll take ages and ages and ages. Here we are. That'll do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Well, here we are, more or less out. We are everything detached, and I've got to change that bell housing, so I've more or less unbolted that as well. But we'll have the engine out in a jiffy and standing on the floor, and then we can think about putting the next one in. Well, hip hip hooray. And I managed to work around the wing that I couldn't actually get off. It just slows it down a bit. It's not impossible, it's just a nuisance. But we're more or less there. Well, I've got a nice empty engine bay. I've got to change the bell housing, and I've got to somehow find or fabricate a different exhaust downpipe. But other than that, we've got everything we need, and it all should bolt up. Well, it's a dingy old day again, but I've changed the bell housing, and we have here a nice shiny engine all ready to go in on the hoist. So I'm going to do a bit of grunting. I can't really film that because it's going to take all three hands I've got probably and more. But anyway, when we get this in, we've got a few more bits to bolt up, and yeah, we'll be kind of winning, I hope. The new one is in. It's fair to say I've had enough for today. My back hurts, my knuckles are scraped, all of the other things that you get when you've been moving stuff that heavy about. But it's on the splines, it's only held on by a couple of bolts, but I may need a cup of tea, magic potion for superhuman strength and things, to do the next bit. So yes, hurrah for our side. The game that we play when doing this kind of engine conversion is finding the right combination of centre engine mount, which goes sort of down by the driver's right foot by the starter motor, at the back of the engine and onto the chassis. And there are so many different sorts, depending on whether it's an iron bell housing or an early bell housing or a 1A bell housing or an aluminium bell housing, and exactly which engine it is. And I've never yet managed to do a swap and not managed to find a combination that will work, even if they're not one that appears in the parts book. So this job is not any different. It's just it's taken me an hour or two going through all of this lot and finding the right pair. Unfortunately, there are some quite rare ones, but fortunately I had the foresight to remanufacture some a few years back, so we've got a few in stock, even if they're not original ones. They're all different sizes, and here it is. And all the bolts have started. and there's a big rubber block in the middle, so as we tighten it up, that will take any of the sort of twist out of it. But that's two factory items that never appeared in the same parts book, but they work. The other bit that we've had to swap around and look for is a tappet chest cover with a down vent on it. The original engine for this car didn't have any vents this side of the engine. They were all built into the other side, and with this engine we need a vent this side. So what we've got here is a wartime military tappet chest cover with a down vent on it. Here we are, all running. It's taken a bit of tweaking, but this engine was running fine in the test stand, so I think we had a bit of grubbiness going on in the carburetor where it had been standing around for a little while. But yeah, quite pleased with this. As it settles down, it'll get smoother, it'll get better. Yeah, quite happy. And the warmer it gets, the happier it seems to be getting. So yeah, all in all, I think we're going to be all right with this. No water leaks to speak of. Fairly happy engine. Pleased with that. Right, first thing this morning, out here for the final push. I had it running for quite a while last night. I can't drive it at the moment because the brakes really want a rebuild, but I can sort of take it around the farm roads and things gently and just make sure things are all right. It was running for about an hour and a half last night, on and off, and it's not lost any water, and it's making oil pressure and all the other things you want. So really what I've got to do now is put the floor back in and put the carpets back in and put this wing, bolt this back up where it sits all sort of hanging loose, and then put the other wing on and get 2 or 3 people together at some point this weekend and put the bonnet back, and then we've got a motor car. So yeah, hurrah for our side really, I guess. Bugsy's not interested. Not even a little bit. What are you doing, Bugs? Hey? Yeah. Well, here I am fitting the floor in, and I've got this thing helping me. And I'm not sure if we're really helping or whether we're a hindrance. But Bugsy, just let me get this floor in and I'll take you for a little mooch. So I think it's worth a quick film inside this, because it's probably one of the nicest examples of a civilian pre-war Humber that I've seen in a while. There are a few about, but not that many. They're quite an unusual car. And this one's still got its original interior in really, really good nick, actually. It's all back together and running now. I don't know if you can hear it running. There we are, the fan's going round. And it's all happy and it's all running. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to take it out for a spin because the brakes need a rebuild because it's been sat around for so long. I've got the choke wedged off at the moment with a screwdriver. Once it's warmed up enough, I can take that out, but it's still got its auto choke, and they were never very successful. The army removed them from the cars during the war, and most of them that come in have had a manual choke fitted. This one hasn't, but then I don't think this one's done very much. It still had its original engine, which was an indication that it had never really been used. Not to any great extent, anyway. So hopefully next week this one will be off back home to where it lives, and with a bit of luck we'll be out and about on the road.